it's obvious that many of her votes will be anti-Trump votes. Now, look, I've been highly critical of Kamala Harris on a variety of issues, from how she and Biden handled the border to how she won't answer so many questions directly, including how she might be different from Joe Biden. But if she's declared the winner in the wee hours of November 5th or in the days thereafter, and Donald Trump or these bad faith supporters of his reject it, or let's just say don't accept it the way they're suggesting or saying they will, we could be headed into very dangerous territory. Joining us now is Jim Jordan, Republican congressman from Ohio, serves as the chairman on both the House Judiciary Committee and the Subcommittee on the Weaponization of Federal Government. Congressman, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Now, I presume you think I'm either being hyperbolic or unfair, so tell me what you think I am getting wrong here with regard to my fear.
Well, I mean, look, I'm focused on 8 days from now. I'm focused on November 5th. And the way you win elections is get more votes than the other guy, which I think President Trump's going to do. Dan, every single metric is moving in President Trump's favor, frankly, Republicans' favor, Senate and House. I mean, the early vote counts in the swing states are up for Republicans, unprecedented numbers. The polling nationally is moving up for President Trump. The polling in all the swing states is moving in President Trump's direction. And then I've been in all kinds of states all over. I've been in 6 states in the last 9 days. You can feel the energy and enthusiasm for President Trump. So you're focused on something that ain't going to happen, that, sometime after the fact he doesn't get I think he's going to win. And I don't concern myself with all those statements that you just referenced.
Well, let's agree that the polls have shifted to Donald Trump, that if you're on the Trump team, you're certainly happier, I think, going into this right now than you are on the Harris team. But I do think it's really important that we talk about this now, because we've got to have a way to accept the results of this election. And I don't hear any of the folks who are in power on the left or the far left talking about literally trying to go to state legislators and to try to get them to reject the outcome of the election. And I do hear that
what are you talking
from the far
about?
right.
Jamie Raskin has talked about it. They've talked about challenging.
I made it clear what the distinction was.
Dan, they tried to use the 14th Amendment. They said, oh, the best way to beat President Trump is to not let him play the game, to not let him even participate. And they tried the 14th Amendment in all these states, and thank goodness the Supreme Court said
the results.
9-0, you can't do that. But so they're the ones who've been doing all this lawfare and trying to interfere with elections, and you're now concerned about, statements that some people made.
No, I'm concerned about accepting. No, I was very critical of the left for that 14th Amendment move and told them they were going to lose it, and they did. But they accepted the results of that, right? They aren't continuing to say, because we lost that lawsuit, we're not going to accept it if he wins in Pennsylvania. What I hear from some Republicans is, we don't like the results of these lawsuits not coming out our way, for example, on which votes get counted, et cetera. And as a result, if we lose, the election was illegitimate.
Dan, they tried the 14th Amendment. They tried 4 crazy cases, 2 from Jack Smith, 1 from Fani Willis, 1 from Alvin Bragg, all ridiculous. They removed the guy who won the nomination for him. They said, A, see you later. We're putting in Kamala Harris, and she didn't get 1 single vote. And now you're concerned about us questioning. I mean, it looks like they're the one. And Jamie Raskin says they might try some things on January 6, 2025 after President Trump wins. That's the concern I have, for goodness sake.
Yeah. See, and you brought up something that actually is my active concern, right? Is by saying that Kamala Harris didn't win the primary, right? That she got effectively anointed. That's going to be the basis for the argument that whatever happens if Republicans lose, well, the whole Democratic thing really doesn't matter because the Democrats didn't play by democracy.
I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is the Democrats. Democrats, democracy's on the ballot. This is the party who put someone on the ballot who didn't win a single vote in their primary.
That's a fair political argument. But it still concerns me about the accepting of the results. I mean, look, there's a reason. I'm going to read this to you. There's a recent poll out. It says 69% of Americans. 69% of Americans don't agree on anything in politics these days. 69% of Americans don't think Trump will concede if he loses.
Well, I think if I saw the same polling, I think there's a whole bunch of Democrats who said the same way the other way. if it's the other way around. So I think there's a concern there. But this is just a problem we have right now in our country. And I think it's a lack of trust for institutions. Frankly, a lack of trust in people in the government. It's a slightly different issue, but Dr. Fauci told us so many things, infringed on our liberties in so many ways, and so much of what he told us turned out to be true, turned out not to be true, I should say. That is a concern people have with just institutions and trust in our government in a general context.
Yeah. You could agree that's kind of changing the subject, though, right?
I just had a conversation right before I come on air about Fauci and all the things he did to our First Amendment liberties.
Okay. I don't want to get in the Fauci debate, but Hakeem Jeffries said during a recent press conference, he said, House Democrats are going to do everything necessary to ensure that the winner of the presidential election is certified on January 6th without drama or consequences. Would you support that statement?
Yeah, fine. I mean, look, I'm for having this election. The winner's going to be the president. I believe that is going to be President Trump. I believe we're going to take the Senate. I think we're going to increase our majority in the House because you can feel that energy out there. And every metric, every data point is pointing in that direction. So I think that is exactly the case. Heck yeah, let's make sure we certify President Trump as the president because he's going to win, for goodness sake.
But if Trump loses, will you tell him to concede?
Well, he's not going to lose.
But if he loses, he might lose.
And if he loses, he will concede like he did last time.
He didn't concede.
Power
never
was turned over last time, for goodness sake. That's how it works. And President Trump did that. He left the White House. Joe Biden came in, and we've had 3.5 years of ridiculous, crazy policy that has led to $2 gas going to $4 gas, stable prices going to record inflation, secure border going to a no border, and, of course, all kinds of, safe streets going to record levels of crime. That's what we got under Joe Biden. But President Trump left the White House, and we got Joe Biden in there, and everyone sees how bad it went. And that's why President Trump is winning and surging in all the metrics and all the measurements.
But I'm going to try one more time on that question. If he loses, are you going to tell him to concede?
Well, if he loses, he loses, but he's not going to lose. And we know
there's no possible way. There's no way. No universe where he could lose. In a race where he's favored by about 54% at this point, there's no possible way he could lose.
No, I mean that could happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to win. That's what I'm saying. I think he's going to win. I know everything points to us taking back the Senate, and everything points to us increasing our majority in the House.
If he loses, if.
I'm not going to deal in hypotheticals. I'm focused on the next 8 days. I'm traveling to another state tomorrow to help the effort some more. That is what I'm focused on doing, is helping Republicans win, because I know that's good for the country. And frankly, Dan, this whole new coalition that's coming together, I mean, did you ever think you'd see Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, and RFK Jr. on the same team? They're on the same team because they see what the left's doing to the First Amendment. And don't think they won't come after you too. They'll come after you, and you're trying to be fair on both sides. And I know how NewsNation is operating, but that's what's at stake in this election, is protecting the First Amendment and our free speech rights. So I'm doing everything I can to help Republicans, and I think we're going to win because America sees that. All
right. So you won't answer it directly. All right, but I hear you. Congressman Jim Jordan, thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate the conversation.
Look forward to coming back. Take care.
All right, thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.